previously director of the World Bank Innovation Program in Kazakhstan, and he has launched and sold 2 logistics companies based in the United States and Russia. So let us welcome Mr. Erik Zoltz. Now we have one of India's most successful story, one of the prominent young achievers in the country, Mr. Madhu Kannan. Madhu is currently Chief Business Officer for India and Emerging Markets of Uber. Uber, as you know, is a new tech startup which has become a global icon for the aspiring entrepreneurs to look up to. Wherever I go, I've seen in every presentation people talk about the Uber model. Today, Madhu is heading Uber in India as well as all the emerging markets. Prior to this, he was with Tata Group as one of its core members heading public affairs and business development. One of the core team members of the Tata chairman. Madhu is was also youngest chief executive of Bombay Stock Exchange. Prior to that, he was also with New York Stock Exchange as vice president for Europe, Middle East, and Africa operations for the NYSE Euronext. He was also managing director of corporate strategy group of the group strategy of Bank of America Merrill Lynch, and he was recognized as a young global leader by the World Economic Forum in 2007. He's educated in US and one of the best institutes in like Bixby Land. Madhu is an inspiration to many people. I'm confident you will get inspired from his words. Let us welcome Madhu Kannan. Next is Anil Anthony. Anil is an entrepreneur. He's a venture architect and technology evangelist, and also he's also part of a social venture started by his mother. And he's currently executive director of Cyber India, which is a think tank on cyber policies. He's also vice president and one of the trustees of Nabuthan Foundation, which works for the empowerment of women and cancer patients in particular. He's also educated in India as well as in Stanford. He's currently also a columnist with a few newspapers in Hindu, Indian Express, etc. Let's welcome Anil Anthony. We have 2 more speakers to be joining later. I will introduce them as and when they come. One is Kanika Diwan. She is president and chairperson of Bahrain-based Ramco Group. Again, one of the 40 global leaders by Wharton School. Also Suhas Gopinath, who is considered as one of the youngest CEOs in the country. At 17, he started his IT company, college dropout, again recognized across the world as a young global leader by the World Economic Forum, and also manufacturing, coming with another, again just started another startup. I will introduce in detail when they come. We have our panel discussion, which will be moderated by Pooja Mehra. Pooja Mehra is former editor for economic affairs for the Hindu newspaper, and prior to that she was with Business Today magazine as an associate editor. One of the finest journalists in India and award-winning journalist, won the Ramnath Goenka Excellence in Journalism Award in 2008 and for 2009. Currently she is a columnist and independent journalist. Let's welcome Pooja Mehra. With this I will request Erik to give his keynote on the importance of entrepreneurship. So wish you all a wonderful day, get inspired and think more, become more, and do more.
business incubator here at the American Center. I want to kind of add what I was talking about entrepreneurship, because that's a passion of mine. That's why I'm here. I've started a couple companies in the United States, one in the former Soviet Union, Russia, sold those in the logistics area, as he said. And now, since then, I've been working with the IC Squared Institute, evangelizing or promoting entrepreneurship throughout the world. And you mentioned several of the countries I've been in. But I just want to talk about entrepreneurship. Oh, not working? Is it better? Okay. Can everybody hear me now? Yes. No? Somebody said no? Who said no? I'm a very strong believer, passionate believer in entrepreneurship, because I think these are the things that change the world. I think it was Margaret Mead who said that never doubt that a one committed person or small group of people can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that has. I'm a very strong believer in that. If you just read sometimes in the media in the United States and in India, you think of innovation, you think of entrepreneurship, startup culture, of just the big headlines, of the Flipkart, the Zomato, right? Amazon or Twitter in the States. And as those rise and fall, you think innovation rises and falls. And that's not the case. And as a young person thinking about entrepreneurship or startup, you might start benchmarking yourself and say, well, I could never have a Twitter or an Instagram kind of thing that is valued at millions or billions of dollars, and it's very intimidating. But the point is, for entrepreneurship, it's not about that. It's not about these sexy IPOs and they're getting $1 billion and listed on the stock exchange and all that. Entrepreneurship is about finding a problem and saying, I can do better. I can make society better, I can make this better in some way. That's all it is, very simple. And I think this problem that I'm solving is not just a problem for me, it's a problem on a big enough scale that I can make money off this. This is good for a business that many people care about. And by having that solution better than anybody else, you start off, you start making money, you start employing people, you solve that problem, and you go larger and larger. And you become these large companies. All of these companies did not spring out suddenly as a multi-billion-dollar company. They all started with somebody in a garage or somebody in their house saying, you know what, I can do this better. So that is, to me, what is extremely inspiring about entrepreneurship, is that it does start from people like yourself who saying, I can do this better, regardless of what field it's in. Could be as high tech, could be medical, could be environmental issues, whatever. We'll talk about social entrepreneurship later today as well. But entrepreneurship is the engine that not only drives the change, but also in social and cultural and technology, but also drives it. It also drives the change that will happen through y'all. And this is what's extremely important. Economics-wise, I'm sure you've heard the statistic, but I'll say it again, is that the majority of jobs are not created in the United States by General Electric, by Apple, by these large existing companies. The majority of jobs are generated by small, medium enterprises and by entrepreneurship. Now, granted, there's a lot of turnover, right? You start these companies and, I believe 70% of them are full before the end of 3 to 5 years. But the engine of growth in the United States, and I believe in India as well, in the future, comes through entrepreneurship. And the great thing for me about entrepreneurship, it cuts across so many different industries. It could be in anything, and it touches so many things. And this is what we're doing here at the American Center. You want to talk about economic empowerment? Entrepreneurship. You want to talk about women's rights and women's empowerment? Entrepreneurship. You want to talk about the environment and saving the environment for future generations or climate change? It's entrepreneurship. These are the ones that are going to be driving those changes. The large companies are looking now for open innovation. For them, they will start looking to get the technologies and get the fresh ideas from entrepreneurs. All of these things have to do with entrepreneurship, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. Not only in the United States, but in India and around the world. And India right now is at such a transformational period that it's really going to be make or break in the next 5 to 6 years. Population-wise, culture-wise, economy-wise, job-seeking-wise, you are the future here. And for you to take this dream of entrepreneurship and say, I've got this idea, what can I do with it? That's what we at Nexus do, is we provide the tools. Right? Say, okay, you've got a great idea. How do I wrap a business about this? How do I make this sustainable? But the idea and the passion has to come from you. Because I tell people that, yes, we have this program at Nexus, and we'll teach you how to start a business, and we'll teach you how to raise funds, and we'll introduce you, and we'll do all that. We can do that. But at the end of the day, it's what your passion and your idea and your persistence in saying, this is what I believe and I can do this, that's going to get it there. VCs don't fund ideas, they fund teams, right? They fund teams of people that say, yes, we're going to do this. There are plenty of ideas out there. It's how you execute on those ideas that makes a difference between an entrepreneur and somebody who says, oh yeah, I think I might want to do this. And it's the day-to-day work that you put in. If you were thinking about entrepreneurship because you see in the papers about the people getting $1 million or the multi-million, hundreds of millions of dollars and the stock options and they've got the new Porsche and all that, that's not what entrepreneurship is about. If you were thinking about trying to get into entrepreneurship because you're going to make a lot of money, believe me, you're in the wrong business. Majority of entrepreneurs fail, right? And if you, 3 or 4 years down the line, if you had actually calculated how many hours you worked on that and the per hour salary that you were getting, probably would have been better somewhere else. So if you're looking at it from that point of view, that's not what entrepreneur is, and it's not for everybody. But if you think that you're passionate because you see an idea and you see a problem in society that you could change, and you're waiting, you're looking around saying, hey, I can see this, why doesn't anybody else see this? Why isn't the government doing this? Why aren't these other NGOs doing it? That's where entrepreneurship comes in, because it's about you. And don't be afraid, don't be intimidated about it, because no one's going to do it for you. Entrepreneurs, there are people that will help you, but at the end of the day, it's you. And if you find that exciting, like I do, then entrepreneurship is for you. If you're ready to go 24/7 and work on that until success comes to you, and you grab success and make it come to you, as I say, instead of coming to you, that's what entrepreneurship is about. That's what the passion comes in. Because otherwise, nothing's going to change if it's not for you. Like that quote I said, you being committed and you having that passion to work and saying, I'm not going to back down, I'm not going to stop until this happens, that's what it's about. And that's what we look forward for the future generation of entrepreneurs about. And it doesn't have to do with age, doesn't have to do with the education, doesn't have to do with whether you're rich or whether you've got the VC funding or not. It comes from here and from here. And once you have that, you start those entrepreneurial teams and you maybe your first one fails. But that's why we talk about serial entrepreneurship, right? That's why we say learning about your failure, continuing on so that you can actually get success. Because this is what it's all about. It's just finding that, continuing that, gathering people to put on your team, have that same vision, and then soon you'll grow, and then soon you will be these large companies, and soon you will be listed in Forbes and Entrepreneurial Magazine. But in the beginning, it's all about you. We offer here at Nexus, we offer those tools to help you. We have this entrepreneurship program. We have a 10-week pre-incubation program where we teach you kind of A to Z. We try to bring you best practice from India and the United States to help you as tools. We've recently expanded. We're going to be doing this out South Asia with Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bhutan. And we've got a new program specifically focused on women entrepreneurs who are at university level. So if you're all connected with the university, you have an idea, you think about becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure how to do it, please, we'd love to be able to talk to you. This is all supported by the U.S. government, and it's all to kind of give you the tools to achieve your dreams. Please come talk to us. But for me, like I said, this is my purpose in life. It's not for everybody, but once you get the bug, once you get a taste of what entrepreneurship is, I can't imagine myself going back and working in a cubicle 24/7 now until I retire. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it takes different skills and different personalities. And so I feel that once you take that step, it is scary, it is nervous, and it will make you nervous, but once you start building something and you can step back and you can say, before me, this was not here. I did this, and I made a difference, and this is going to be even bigger. To me, that's one of the most incredible feelings in the world. And to say that without me, this would not have happened, and I have made a difference. And if that grows and scales, and you become a great multi-million-dollar company, fantastic. If it doesn't, if it's small and you're only making, your company's only making a couple $1 million a year and you only have 5 employees, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You're solving a problem, you're employing people, and you're doing something that wasn't there before. To me, that's what the key of entrepreneurship is, and to me, that's what the passion is about. So I'll be happy to talk to you guys more later about Nexus, about my personal journey, what I've done, if that's at all interesting to you, about my entrepreneurial works. But I just kind of wanted to hear and tell you about, in the grand scheme of things, why it's important. To me, and I don't exaggerate on this, it sounds hyperbolic, but entrepreneurship and starting with it, this is what changes the world on all levels: economic, cultural, technology, and just as where we are as a world, as a globe. And I don't want to say it's from the United States or India, but altogether internationally. So please, I'm very glad to see all of you here. I hope entrepreneurship is something that you're interested in, that you're willing to try. If you're looking for help, we are here, and I think you're going to have some fantastic stories from some of our panelists. But welcome. I hope that you embrace entrepreneurship like we have, and if we can help in any way to help you on that journey, please come talk to us. We'd love to be able to share it with you. Thank you.
I would now like to welcome Mr. Madhu Kannan to speak a few words to us.
Good morning, or is it good afternoon already? Thank you guys for inviting me over. I mean, Eric has delivered, I think, a very comprehensive talk on entrepreneurship and those, what are the things that you guys need to look at. I've got 3 to 4 minutes. I mean, I think I really want to actually spend more time just having an interaction with this group, talking about my story, right? I think my stories of for the last, though right now I'm with Uber. It's only been one of the 22 years of Uber things. In the last 21 years, I've had interesting opportunities and to observe entrepreneurship and in both in India and the United States. In fact, more in the United States first, and then for the last 9 years in India. See, one thing all of us assume when the word entrepreneurship comes up is that, again, sort of it's tech, it's like, bootstrap, it's sort of, in a garage, in a house, trying to do something very interesting. One of the things I've realized that, look, we can be entrepreneurial in whichever environment we exist. I actually spent 5 years working in a 150-year-old institution, the Tatas. And some of the amazing entrepreneurs I saw in some of the Tata companies were great. I mean, they were actually sort of in their own environment, being entrepreneurial, were creating value for all the various stakeholders that they're engaging with. So I think that's sort of one thing I agree with you. Look, there's no standard set model for how one can be entrepreneurial. I think Eric already talked about it, that some of the best entrepreneurships, some of the best innovations have happened when people have put their mind towards solving the problem which is next door or which is sort of in your face. And that's sort of where this huge amount of value, not just economic but also sort of social, you name it, has actually sort of as accrued. Let me sort of talk about the three or four broad roles I've had in life. I mean, I spent, as I said, 10 years at the New York Stock Exchange, was involved in working with the emerging markets, including in India. Some of the most interesting sort of innovations and really entrepreneurship has been actually happened in that particular space, driven by towards the external factors. Once technology, which is again very well understood, and technology, as technology evolves, there's great opportunities for us to actually come up with some interesting ideas to create value. Second, which at this stage you may find it difficult to understand, or I mean I would say understand in terms of belief, the regulation actually, the changes in regulation actually create huge opportunities to be innovative and entrepreneurial. So the way of doing business actually changes. Great opportunity for us to actually go out and be entrepreneurial. But the most important thing I did is that, look, let's look at who our customers are. Right? Finally, whichever business we are in, we are trying to create value for our customers. Sometimes even called stakeholders, because not every customer actually may have an economically measurable value. So I think looking to see what and understand our external customers / stakeholders, and figuring out ways to be able to come up with more interesting, innovative, smarter models to serve them in as cost-effective and value-creative model is something which all of us need to be looking at. What are some of the drivers of this? Clearly we talked about innovation. I think Eric has already nailed it. Innovation is one part of, it could be a catalyst, but the successful entrepreneurs are those who actually have demonstrated an ability to execute. I mean, you have great ideas, but with poor execution, great ideas remain on paper, right? I think at this particular stage in life, I think I can't emphasize anymore the importance of actually being able to be able to execute relentlessly and with brutal efficiency. As for companies, in fact, when I came back to run the Bombay Stock Exchange, one of the things I realized, and given the fact that it is very obvious for me in the market of India, entrepreneurial companies, etc., actually a huge percentage of them were actually the real, sort of in the non-tech world, right? I mean, you're a small little sort of a supplier to an auto company with 10 crores of revenue, trying to be entrepreneurial, trying to create a structured business. We realized quickly that access to capital becomes an issue, and the good thing is, again, I'm just giving you this government. I mean, government of India, I think on both sides, no matter which side actually is ruling it, has had a very strong sort of policies to try to encourage entrepreneurship in small and medium enterprises. So that's something that's good. This country sort of has very progressive sort of policies on this direction. And what we did at the BSc was to set up models for actually an exchange for these sort of small companies to raise equity capital. So increasingly, the access to financing for interesting entrepreneurial companies is getting better as we move along, including the tech and sort of the more traditional spaces. There are already established institutions in the country which are out there to support these areas. Again, I think to go to other sort of softer factors which you talked about, clearly, one needs to continue to be sort of committed and passionate about the ideas. I mean, as again Eric mentioned, sometimes some of these ideas are, they're not short-term sort of transactions, right? You really have to be committed to the cause, you be passionate to the about the cause, and continue to be willing to learn. I think that willingness to be always out there wanting to learn is what is going to separate out the winners from those that are not. I think two other things that I sort of, from my experience, I sort of leave with you, and then we'll have more of a conversation informally. I think as all of you, those of you who actually want to become entrepreneurs and sort of move on this entrepreneurial journey, I really want to emphasize there are no shortcuts. Whatever you're doing, let's be very, very clear, let's do it the right way. Because our goal is to build, take ideas, is to build into long-term sustainable businesses. For that, there's no shortcut. So never, I think that's something which I keep on, I build my life on. It's worked very well for me. You have short-term challenges, but always do stuff the right way. And if you're committed, if you've got the ideas, you need to put the effort. There is enough support in the system, from within, from outside. We talked about people, talked about external entities, and one could actually create magic. So thank you very much, and look forward to sort of having a conversation.
I would now like to welcome Mr. Anil K. Antony to speak a few words to us.
Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank the Leaders for Tomorrow Foundation and Binoy for inviting me for the summit. And it's definitely a delight to be here during these interesting times. I say interesting times because the current age, it is said to be the age of technology, where we have a lot of radical technologies like artificial intelligence and robotics, like machine learning tools, like blockchains, genomics. All of them are radically transforming the world as we know around us, in a way we couldn't even imagine like 5 or 10 years back. These changes in technologies, because of these changes in technologies, we are actually capable of now looking at a future where there could be an abundance of every resource, from food and water to power and energy and well-being. Technology is completely transforming every sector around us. For example, how we communicate, how we dissipate information. And all these changes are actually bringing in a lot of transparency in a lot of any sector we look around us. The changes in technology, the innovations, it is transforming sectors like the education sector, where we can use the internet to reach out to millions of people across the world at the same time, even in areas where there are no proper schooling facilities, and educate people. Using technological changes, it is possible for us to now use the internet and reach out to billions of people across the world, even in areas where there are no proper banking facilities, and integrate people into the global economy. So we have these kind of radical changes that are happening, and because of these changes, it will be possible for us to create a wave of innovation and entrepreneurship across the world. And these kind of changes actually do give us hope that in future there could be equitable growth and participatory democracy across the world. So we are looking at an optimistic future. But at the same time, this utopian future is actually marred by a lot of challenges that we will be facing. And incidentally, these challenges are also going to be created because of technology. Like for example, extreme inequalities. If you are looking at Silicon Valley, the Silicon Valley is said to be the cradle of all the innovations that is happening across the world. And if you are looking at Silicon Valley, the top 5 companies in the world, the top 5 companies in the valley, they have a market cap of almost 3 trillion, which is almost 1.5 times of India's GDP. And these 5 companies, they are just employing 700,000 or 800,000 employees between them. Based on a recent report by Oxfam, 73% of the wealth that was generated in India and almost 82% of the wealth that was generated worldwide went to 1% of the population. So in this technological age, we are actually seeing a future. We could potentially look at a future where there could be a lot of creation of resources, abundance of resources, but they could be, I would say, limited employment opportunities and extreme inequalities. And this is also some of the byproducts of the technological age. If you are looking at our social media platforms now, they have become the biggest news companies in the world too. Right now, Google and Facebook and companies like that are no longer just companies that are connecting people, or they are no longer just advertising firms. They are news manufacturers. Unfortunately, these firms are also used to spread a lot of information, many of them which are untrue. Similarly, social media platforms, along with personalized recommendation engines, AI-driven engines, could be used to reach out to millions of people at the same time and tell them exactly what they want to hear. So these kind of tools are really good for reaching out to the market. They are good for marketing, they are good for sales. At the same time, this is also creating a trend where we could reach out to, even political parties could reach out to any number of people and tell them exactly what they want to hear. And it could turn even our electoral processes into marketing campaigns. So because of technological trends, we are actually now seeing a world where there are extreme inequalities and where even our democracy is being threatened. So these are all trends in technology. And we have a lot of prospects and we have a lot of challenges. And like what Dickens once said, this could be the start of another era where this is the best of times and these could be the worst of times. And it will be very interesting to see where we evolve in the future. And I look forward to hearing what the panel and many of you say regarding some of these thoughts. Thank you.
Now it's time to move on to the panel discussion. I request Ms. Pooja Mehra to take over.
We will take questions from the audience later, but I thought we'd set the topic rolling with asking. I will ask a few questions first to all of the panelists, and I wanted to start with Mr. Madhu Kannan. Entrepreneurship in India is sometimes confused with the concept of jugaad. I'd like you to explain to our audience how the two are different and how, when we think of entrepreneurship in India, it does tend to be a lot more difficult and a lot more different than how it is globally.
Good question. The way I sort of separate it out, and I got the last point I made. Okay. For me, entrepreneurship is all about being innovative, finding an opportunity to actually finding opportunity that externally and try to come up with a solution to solve it. Right? That's the simple thing. Now, in going about doing it, I am very, very clear. You have to do it the right way. Now, if Jugaad means being innovative and coming up with a smart hack or a smart solution to solve for a problem without compromising on my ethics, it's fine. I've been in a regulated company, I've been in a quasi-regulator, I've actually dealt with regulatory entities, I've dealt with different types of things, in the 21 years in the small parts of the world. There is absolutely no gray. It's black or white, and just focus on white in terms of the way you go about doing the work. And that's the way I think. It's not just how you get your destination, it's not just, what is the destination, but also how you get there is very important.
To the right of Mr. Madhukanan is Mr. Rajneesh Kumar. He is director of Nexus, the incubator here in the American Center. From your experience of helping entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, what Mr. Kannan said, how do you see this, how do budding entrepreneurs come to you and seek guidance or help from you in differentiating between, like what he says, what is black and white and where is gray? Do you see those kind of, do you have an experience in that kind of mentorship?
Hello everyone, I'm Rajneesh, and one of the best part that we do here at Nexus is, try to look for the innovations which are at tech, they have a tech component into it, and they have a wide reach, irrespective of what kind of technology they are working on. Considering the landscape of India, we see India is a very diverse country, and if you see the landscape of the technology that varies in India, it's from frugal innovations to high-end technologies. So similarly, the startup companies that come to Nexus, they also vary in the range in terms of the technologies they are working on. And obviously, since we are a business incubator, we try and look for the companies which have a tech component into it, and which is more not frugal at that stage, but yes, they have some technology which is innovative, which is new, which has a capability to change the whole technology landscape in the existing environment. But I also agree to some extent that since India being a diverse country, you find regions like villages or rural areas where high-tech component or technology may not work in. But frugal innovation to some extent can help develop and make your life easy at that level itself. So I would say that the technology landscape or the entrepreneurship, which varies from different regions within India, considering the kind of diversity we have within India itself.
Anil, from your experience, how can our student audience here recognize problems that are solvable, recognize resources available to them, recognize that among their ideas, something is worth committing time and energy to?
So fortunately, like as far as startup experience is concerned, like I was a part of an incubator and a fundraising platform that was based out of the ISB, and we did come across a lot of students who were actually like interested to start their own startup. They had come there, but in many of the cases, what I have found is they like most of the startups in India that has become successful in India so far, they had always taken some model that already works somewhere in some other country, like let's say US or another, let's say more developed market, and they try to copy it. And when that happened, like there was very little innovation, and the success actually depended more on execution. Like for example, we have a lot of e-commerce platforms that are doing very well. Some of them are right now, like the industry is consolidating, and right now most of the most of the first e-commerce platforms are no longer there, and you have some of the bigger ones. Similarly, like you look at any of the ones that have succeeded so far, like let's say Zomato, or like and now you have Ola that you know. But all of them, like end of the day, like they have looked at some proven model and they are trying to copy it with very little innovation. And then the other innovation that is happening is frugal innovation, where they are looking at cheaper solutions of something that is more expensive in some of the other business markets. And these are the ones that have succeeded so far. And as far as an entrepreneur is concerned, I think if that person has the passion, and if the person thinks that there is a market opportunity, and if they have the execution capability, it may work. But I think the best advice will be to look at something like there are a lot of cutting edge new technologies that are coming up, where like for example like in big data, in AI, like and all that, where actually like we have good talent and we should now focus on creating more better value products. That will be where the bigger opportunities will be in the long run.
Rajneesh, in your experience, do you agree or do you see original ideas coming up, or do you see more examples of adaptations of Indian adaptations of internationally successful ideas?
So I would say it's a kind of a mix and match, and like the companies that come to Nexus, they vary since we are sector agnostic. The companies differ from different areas like agri-tech, health tech, even e-commerce platform. But we try and at Nexus we try and look for, even if it is an e-commerce platform, we try and look for if it adds a value proposition to the customer itself. So what kind of value proposition they are adding to the market? Is customer being going to be benefited to it? Is the market right now, I would say, scattered, and that platform will going to help the customer in some way or the other itself. Apart from this, there are some innovative ideas that these startup companies at Nexus have come up with. If I want to take an example of one of my companies, which is Glenstar International, they have come up with a weightless solution where they're using chemical formulation, which has been approved by FDA itself in India itself, where you don't need to have water to take a bath itself. So right now they are in touch with different military organizations within India and Russia and Netherlands. That's one of the very, I would say, big success that Nexus has right now. One of the another company, Road Bounce, is coming out with an application where they can measure the roughness index of the road. And now they're pitching to a different government in India itself, where they are asking not to go for a tender of the complete road, but they can go just for the courthouse itself. So obviously new innovations are coming up which are totally new, which are not copied itself, and something new is happening within India.
And tell us something about the profile of your innovators. Do these tend, what age group, what backgrounds do they tend to come from?
So at Nexus, I would say we have a varied range. We have innovators who are just a student who are still doing their graduation, and we have some serial entrepreneurs like this guy Ranjit Deshmukh, who was recently covered by your story as well. He is a serial entrepreneur where he started his 2 startup companies in the US, and then he sold both of them. He started his third venture in Pune itself, and he was one of the incubators. So it ranges from a student to serial entrepreneurs.
And Mr. Khan, I wanted to ask you that, living in India is not easy, doing business in India is not easy. We're surrounded by all sorts of problems. Why do we not see as much of problem solving relevant to the Indian context, and why is it easier for innovators and entrepreneurs to adapt internationally successful models or ideas for Indian conditions?
So one thing which I touched on in my comments, and something which when I was at Tata's and I've observed Tata doing a great job of it. That today the framework, both financial as well as social, to deal with failure in India is not robust enough. Right? I mean, till recently, I was just talking to somebody, a senior person in the HR people organization 3 days back, who told me that till recently, if you had gone and tried to be an entrepreneur for 2 years and then sort of failed, people were very nervous of putting that in the resume. Or prospective recruiters would think 2-3 times about hiring somebody who's sort of, it was actually not seen as a negative thing. Now, that doesn't make sense. Now things are changing. So if there's one very big difference, and one thing we need to focus more is to, celebrate successful failures. To talk about. So for example, the Tatas actually, as a part of the Innovista, which is the internal awards program to celebrate innovation within the group, have one category on successful failures, where and some interesting innovations happen. For whatever reasons, it didn't work. We need to actually be comfortable enough to talk about it, deal with it, and learn from it, so that subsequently people don't make the same mistakes again. So your question is that that's one area. I mean, be it in economic bankruptcy, so procedures, macro, but just the entire social and economic framework to deal with and social cultural framework to deal with and failure in a startup is very important for us to focus on.
As a society, we need to be more accepting of failure and focus more on what lies ahead of it.
And you learn, all of us learn, right? If you didn't make mistakes, that's the beauty about learning from mistakes and moving forward.
Rajneesh, since you work so much with young innovators and entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, for our audience here, students, how does one recognize, the personality type, where we are problem solvers? Because a lot of skills can be acquired through training and education and exposure. But how do our audience identify if they are budding, if they have that entrepreneurship lurking inside their personalities?
I think there's no ready formula where you can just pick out that, okay, the one is an innovator. It totally depends on the opportunity, totally depends on the one's mindset. If he's finding an opportunity in the existing problem to come out with a solution to it. So there have been entrepreneurs where they have never thought of starting a business. But once they see that there is an opportunity in the market, that the customer, there are customers to this solution to it, the kind of solution they're looking to it. They have come out with new ideas, they've come out with the solutions around that pain point which is existing in the market, and they have just turned entrepreneurs. But yes, I would do say there is now in the existing environment there are some good platforms that help the student to explore the new ideas, to help them do ideation of their technologies. So these are some exercises which can help the students to come out with some new innovative ideas, and in case they are really, I would say, have the zeal to excel as an entrepreneur, obviously then they would like to take it forward. For example, like Government of India is now coming out with 920 labs in all the schools. That is, I would say, one of the very innovative initiative by Government of India to promote entrepreneurship, to inculcate an environment of entrepreneurship, thinking through different ideas, think out of box ideas, to think of new ideas within the school at a school level itself.
We are ready now to throw the floor for questions from audience or anything that any of you would like to say, share with all of us. Could we please the mic to the gentleman here? Is the check sure? Anybody else, so that we can line up questions? Any other questions or thoughts, comments? Please raise your hands. Okay. After him? Yes, please go ahead.
I would like to ask
Would you like to introduce yourself before you ask your question?
Yeah, my name is Jayant and I am a BTech student first year. I would like to ask Madhuban sir, as it said, the idea should be ethical to proceed with, but how do you define the ethical prospect, sir? Like you are the managing director at Uber right now, and it has quite changed the transport system, how we all travel, as I would say. Like there was a lot of auto rickshaws or taxis and all, but now it has all changed to simple Uber or Ola cabs, and it has changed the lives of many people. It's not destroyed, but yeah, I'm not able to convey myself, I think.
And I think what he's asking is also what we were discussing, whereas Uber has solved a lot of problems of mobility for a lot of different sections of society, especially elders, senior citizens, people who were earlier dependent on family members, etc. So they probably are more empowered and independent now using Uber services. But I think what he's saying is at the same time, the success of Uber also means a sort of creative destruction where they're probably replacing auto rickshaws and is that what you're asking?
Actually, so the first question is trying to ask about ideas being ethical or what I think we started off. I think the point I was trying to make is the way you go about implementing what the concept has to be very the right way. That's the point of taking. That's why they take important on the idea. I don't want to talk very specifically about a company or company. I think to give you a broader a broader answer here. See, I think one needs to look at the overall impact of any idea, any transformation, any disruption, whatever you call it, in terms of the stakeholder value creation to a wide, cross section of the community. There may, as efficiency sort of improves, there may be some short-term some challenges, but I think overall, and again, there's enough evidence, enough sort of information that's out there. The overall, the quality of life to various the quality, the stakeholder value to all stakeholders, be it drivers, riders, etc., has improved over medium and long period of time. You find people making choices. I think the two points I can talk about from a Uber perspective is that suddenly we found people from being just being drivers to becoming entrepreneurs, right? And they created control about time they spend, the resources, the allocation of their time to maximize their earnings. So they're no more, I think the spirit of entrepreneurship, the spirit of micro-entrepreneurship at that level is very, 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 it's very liberating. I personally have met, I've been in the company for a year, but I've seen this entire industry the last 4 years in India. Each of them has a story. Finally, they have the ability to create and their jobs, or they can create entrepreneurial juices in a manner which best conveys or which best allocates their resources. So yes, there may or may not be some short-term disruption, but overall, my philosophy is creating micro-entrepreneurs out of a category of people and giving them the tools is good for the long run.
I'll add to that. I think there's a concept in economics where when you evaluate, a development or a project or a company, Uber's contribution should be evaluated in terms of the overall social impact. What you're saying does constitute a cost, but does the benefit that comes out of this new company, this new model of doing, of solving mobility problems, does the benefit outweigh the cost? And I think it probably, you haven't said so, but do you have instances of, say, for instance, auto rickshawalas migrating to being, to your platform and becoming entrepreneurs on?
Again, I'm just giving an example. Right? They are not mutually exclusive. There are cities where you still have buses, you have auto rickshaws, you have taxis, you have cycle rickshaws. Right? I think the beauty is that you're creating efficiencies in a one category, and there's a market where we operate one product. There's the other aggregator operates 3 products. We operate 3 products. We also operate a motorcycle. It is just creating choice, empowering our partners to be able to pick those choices which better allocates their resources to be able to get to more sustainable areas. It's all about creating choice for everybody, driver partners, big customers. And you're right, I think therefore I don't want to actually look at it's not necessarily zero-sum game. It's not, it is actually collectively solving a problem of efficient urban mobility. That's where
The size of the problem is so big that there's probably space for everybody to come in and provide solutions and in that process make a livelihood for themselves. Do we have more questions? We have one more. Yeah.
So my question is for Rajni.
Would you like to identify yourself? Sorry, before that?
I am Samriddhi and I'm a BCom student, second year. So my question is for Rajneesh sir. Good afternoon, sir. So my question is, I would like to quote Eric sir. He said that there are a lot of problems existing in the environment. The environment at large can, be cured of problems through an entrepreneurship. Then there's the societal problems like women need empowerment, and there's a lot of other stuff that's affecting our society. So how do you think that happens, and do you have any for instances to support that quotation of his?
Before Rajneesh takes up the question, are there any other questions so that we can move the mic? Okay, can we move the mic there, please?
Thank you, Samriddhi. That's a very nice question, and I will do as well. Obviously, as a cultural society, the kind of society that we live in, there are not many hassles within it. There are issues related to not letting the women of our homes not go out at late hours, not to explore the things which are more adventurous in that sense. But I would do agree that the time is changing. Our parents are much more open in terms of understanding what is the possibilities that exist within the market and how good they can be at the end of the day if our children explore and in future. So that landscape is obviously changing now, and considering the fact that it's still there are at some of the corner of the societies the problem still exists. But I think with time and with more sensitizations, this problem is going to pass away soon. But with the changing times, there have been different platforms, there have been different sensitization programs, there have been different platform organizations that are helping women entrepreneurs to come up, helping them to understand what is required in terms of exploring the new ideas, what there exists within the environment itself. Recently, NITI Aayog have launched a platform just only for women entrepreneurs, just to help them out to know that what are the different platforms that exist within the environment, what are the different funding opportunities, what are the different organizations that can help you, that can help mentor you to take your idea further. So considering this fact, you can say that the landscape is obviously being changed. People are accepting women entrepreneurs. They know that the power of women is really rising. They are just equivalent to men. There is no issues. I would say instead of issues relating to equality, I would say everyone is equal in the society. They have equal opportunities. It's just a matter of taking that risk, just letting others, people in the society know, yes, we can move forward, whether it's a man or woman. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Shivani, BCom honors student, third year. I had a question from Rajni, sir. Good afternoon, sir. You said there are a lot many platforms to take our idea further. I had to be clear about those platforms. And a question that how would we know that there is an entrepreneur within us?
Thank you for the question. So again, the question that you asked, whether you want to know that there are entrepreneurs within you. I think that this is a question other than you should ask me or anyone else, you should ask yourself. You should know yourself by looking within the society. If you are moving in a society, you look around and see a lot many problems that exist within an ecosystem. Let me cite an example of one of our companies, Saral Design. The owner of this company is a women entrepreneur, and the idea that came to her mind, based on which she started this Saral Design, was based on the fact that she went to a Jagriti Yatra. There is a Jagriti Yatra where they take people all across India and they stop at different places and they try and look at the people who are working at the ground level. She realized that there is a dearth of knowledge among the rural area about the sanitary napkins. The ladies that the problem that they are facing at these areas, they don't have hygienic solutions to address those needs. So what she thought that this is an area where she should provide a solution to it. She collaborated with one of her friends who was an engineer. They came out with an automatic machine which helps design sanitary napkins with a rate where they can make around 8 to 10 napkins within a minute. But if you see the existing market, she did a thorough research and find out that there were existing machines within the market itself, ranging from manual to fully automated, but the cost of those machines was very high. The highest machine that was costing was around 2 crores, and the manual machine was like few lakhs. She realized that there is a niche area where she should come out with an automatic machine which is handheld, which you can carry to different areas. And she, along with a friend, came out with a solution which was more handy. And what business model she proposed, slowly and slowly she was progressing, and she thought that besides making these sanitary napkins and reaching to the last mile in rural areas, why not also give this machine to interested entrepreneurs who want to start a business? So there was a social angle to it. She immediately thought that this would be a very good value proposition to break entrepreneurs from this business model itself. So I would say, first of all, ask a question to yourself. Look at the problems which are existing in the society. Are you capable of addressing those needs? given an idea. If you have an idea, are you so much interested? Are you so much engrossed in that idea that you really want to explore it by doing a primary research, by talking to people, by knowing what is already existing in the market itself?
And the platforms which would help us?
So I would say just try and do a little bit of Googling. And there are a lot many platforms, there are a lot many organizations like T Foundation, now the platform which is launched by Niti Aayog itself. Now there are different women, I would say, incubators, accelerators that help even students, student itself to come out with the new ideas. So I would say you have to do a little bit of primary research at your end just to look what are the different organizations. But you can easily find out different accelerators, incubators that can help you out with your idea.
We don't have time for more questions. Unfortunately, our panelists have to leave for their other meetings. We thank our panelists and we thank our audience. Hope you benefited from the session.
As a token of our appreciation, we request Mr. Binoy Job to hand over mementos to each of our guests. Can we all say cheese to a selfie?